If this is the first video of mine you are watching, this is a sequel to last week's video where I took a look at a brilliant green ink by Winsor Newton, and in this week's video we're going to be taking a look at the Winsor Newton Emerald Green India ink. Let's go ahead and roll that intro and get into this video. What's up guys, I'm J-Rod at battlebrawlerproductions, the YouTube channel. Welcome. We craft amazing comic book style illustrations, a variety of different mediums. Taking a look at a Winsor Newton drawing ink again, this time with Emerald Green. If you're new to Winsor Newton or if you've never seen their colored inks before, I have to say they're super high quality, beautifully pigmented. They offer a range of 26 colors with 4 of them being available for full size ink wells, while this is a half size. So for example, you can get the Winsor Newton Black India ink waterproof, non-waterproof, silver, and gold in this full size, which is 1 fluid ounce, and they usually sell for about $10.99 to $11.99 depending on where you go, while these smaller half ink wells sell for $5.99 to $6.99, and you are of course getting half of a fluid ounce. Now one thing I have to say, I absolutely love packaging on these. You can see Winsor Newton ink with the name, but they always have a different illustration tying into the ink that is packaged within. Popping it open, we can see the same illustration on the front. Super nice. I really like how they do that, and we're going to be taking a look at this in our sketchbook. We're gonna pretend I actually hit record on the camera and you saw me make these lines, but I have to say I really like this shade of green. This looks absolutely gorgeous. And it's really nice how we're able to thin it just with some simple little dips here and there, so we can get a good idea of it very light and very dark. And yeah, it flows off my dip pen really well. This is a Speedball 512 if you're wondering what nibs I use. Let's go ahead and take a look at it with our quill. How a ink operates in a dip pen and quill pen is super important, especially for traditional illustrations and comics. But yeah, this flows super well. With color inks, how a ink performs with a brush is going to be more important, mainly because for this illustration we are going to be using our brush solely. So yeah, a little sneak peek of what we're going to be doing. But this ink is really nice. It's super smooth and clean. I absolutely love how this ink looks. Let's go ahead and do our brush. This is, by the way, my favorite brush. This is Kolinsky Mimic Round 3 by the Creative Art Mark Company. We're going to get a quick little dip from our inkwell, and then let's go ahead and yeah, that's a really nice green. Green isn't one of my favorite colors, but it's a color I use a lot. It just looks cool. Like, it's a great way to add mood and depth to a piece. But yeah, I really like how this looks. It's a lot lighter than I thought it would be, especially when you see it in the inkwell. Of course, you know, it's through glass, but it's also like compressed in there. So you're really not getting a true idea of what it would look like thinned out. But still, I did not expect it to be this light. I'm not complaining though. I really like how this looks though. Now I'm gonna go in and add some water because this ink is still wet, so I can do a bit of a gradient to see how it looks when we start to thin it out with water, similar to what you do with an ink wash with traditional black ink. And yeah, we can see that this goes even thinner, and I really like how this ink looks. This looks amazing. Now if we were to compare this to the ink we looked at last week, Brilliant Green, I have to say I'm kind of liking Brilliant Green a little more. I like greens with a little bit of yellow to them, but this is still a really beautiful green. No disrespect to this color, it's absolutely gorgeous and amazing. I cannot wait to do our illustration with this ink because this is just going to be an absolute fun time. Let's go ahead and do a little wet on wet. Watch this. There we go. We can really get it to move and do some kind of funky cool watercolor stuff. Let's go ahead and put our brush to the side and take a look at what we will be illustrating today. Today's illustration is a continuation of last week's video. We're going to be finishing up what we started with this gluttony illustration. I'm going for something very graphical. I'm going to be using this ink to fill in the background and do the shading work on her to create something very graphical, very cool, very unique, super experimental, but I can't wait to see how it comes together. So let's go ahead and roll that awesome time lapse. Inking this piece was super fun and very relaxing, but in all honesty, not much of a challenge, mainly because last week was the hardest part of this illustration, the line art. The cursive gluttony really took a lot out of me and was very challenging, but I decided to use this time to actually experiment with a couple brush techniques. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's very easy to get a very smooth, clean gradient with watercolor and colored inks by taking a sponge, soaking in water, getting rid of the excess, and rubbing it onto your paper. You're dampening the surface, and that will allow you to use a wet on wet technique to get a clean, even bit of color or to create a smooth gradient. I decided not to do that. I wanted to keep my brush strokes. So I decided to take advantage of the ink not reactivating, being waterproof, and just layer it on directly, wet on dry, and not worry too much about something smooth, but instead create something that had a lot of energy and movement in it, even though it was a still piece. I had a lot of fun doing this, mainly because something that I normally don't mention on the channel, not for any particular reason, just normally doesn't come up, but I really like noir style things. So like old school detective noir movies, comics, posters, books, like I love that noir aesthetic. I love that detective style, that gritty, like it looks so cool. And if you look at a lot of older noir media, a lot of times they actually do have brush strokes in the background. I think it's a really cool looking aesthetic, so I decided to play with that and incorporate it here. And that was the main reason why I went with that wet on dry approach, because it would give me those brush strokes that I want for that look. It already had a bit of a graphical noir look to this anyway, especially with the pose and the composition. So I thought just let's enhance it and play with it, add a bunch of energy to the piece. My only main thing though is I didn't exactly get a chance to create a smoother blend than I would have liked when it came to doing the detail work on Gluttony, but as a whole I really do like how it came out, and while I could spend definitely a lot more time on this piece, maybe add a little blacking for a little subtle tone here and there, I'm really happy with what we have, and I think this is a really cool piece that I can't wait to revisit, because this is a really cool idea and composition, and while I was exploring it 2 years ago when my penciling skills weren't that advanced, I still think it's really cool and definitely worth a revisit. With that said though, let's go ahead and remove it from the board and do our big grand reveal. And if you guys like this piece, it is available on my Artstation account for a $1 digital download, along with physical posters you can order of my other artwork. It's the first link in the description down below, and it really does help the channel out. But let's go ahead and put the piece aside and do my final cooling thoughts on this ink. Just like last week's video and almost all of the Winsor Newton inks we've taken a look at, this is a super high quality colored ink that I absolutely love and recommend. While you do have some more affordable options such as Dr. P.H. Martin's colored inks, they are only $1 or $2 more depending on where you go for 1 fluid ounce versus this, which you get half. I do think this is worth it. The thing about the Dr. P.H. Martin's colored inks is they're not the most pigmented, and they're also not the smooth to use with a brush or a dip pen. These guys are. They're smooth to use with a brush and a dip pen, and the brush is super important to me with these colored inks. I really like how smooth and easy it is to apply them. I love how they layer, and their pigments and colors are absolutely amazing. I'm gonna give this dude an 8 out of 10 on my scale of 1 to 10. I was tempted to make it a 7, mainly because I actually liked the ink from last week's video a little more, especially with its coloring, but that's a personal preference, and the quality of this ink speaks for itself, so it's getting that 8 out of 10. But that's my opinion, and I'd love to hear your guys' in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this ink? Do you have it? Do you like it? Do you actually like P.H. Martin's more? I would love to hear your guys' comments and feedback. Also on the artwork itself, I know it's an older piece, but I still love to hear your guys' feedback because it makes me become a better artist and a better content creator. Subscribe to the channel for more art animation based content. Remember, I'm J-Rod of battlebrawlerproductions. I draw a power of my own soul, and thank you all so much for watching.